So we are no stranger to Admiral Nelson. Mainly, we're more familiar with, you know, the very end of his career where he died in the Battle of Trafalgar. We covered that battle in, Kings and Generals Telling. And also, he's come up a few times in the Napoleon series by Epic History, such as his sacrifice there, hunting the French fleet while they were on their way to Egypt, essentially being the most feared force on the sea, and basically being the antithesis of Napoleon. Napoleon was known on land to be like almost an unstoppable force, before he started losing at the end. But for a while there, Napoleon was just seen as the unbeatable on land, right? And then and I think Nelson, at least from what we've seen of him, basically was that on the sea. Basically, I would say the Napoleon of the sea, but I'm not sure if that's disrespectful because I think Nelson stands as his own thing, so I won't call him that. But, I mentioned that because I saw a comment, I think, that said he was basically the Napoleon of the sea, or the British Napoleon. Like I said, I'm not sure. I'm not saying that on my words, because I'm pretty sure Nelson stands on his own, and I'm really looking forward to seeing just how he stands on his own and what kind of qualities he has, because like I said, we've heard of Nelson. We saw like one of his battles, but we haven't gone too in depth about the man himself. And well, I think it's about time we did it. As of the recording right now, there are only 2 videos that Epic History has made regarding Nelson. The first is from August 24th, almost, a few months back. So this is part 1, and then the most recent one is the Battle of the Nile. So at the time of this recording, these are the 2 videos I'm about to watch. If I'm speaking a little softly, I apologize. This is one of my night recordings, and I don't live alone. So, I probably won't be as loud as I normally am. Or maybe I will, because the microphone's gonna be like right near my mouth. But okay, yeah, I'm talking way too much. We should just get into it. I'm really looking forward to learning about Nelson. And the thing is, I'm a huge nerd for battle tactics. I love watching commanders and generals. Like, I live for these videos. For those of you who've been around, I love watching the exploits of Napoleon, Hannibal, Caesar. It's just, I love watching great military minds at work. But we mainly only really cover land battles, land tactics and strategy. The ocean is something that naval combat and air combat are the 2 things that I'm not familiar with. Even on my own free time, I mainly just study land battles and warfare. But this is a front that I have ignored, naval and air combat. I've ignored. I never researched deeply into it, so it's, I'm very much more ignorant of this and the way things are handled in the sea. And I think it's because, well, for those of you who don't know, I'm actually afraid of the ocean. Like, I've never gone on a cruise. I never got on a boat. It just scares me, like the ocean, and like the idea of like being stranded in the middle of it kind of scares me, and looking down in the abyss of just nothingness scares me. And like, I don't know, I actually have a fear of the ocean. Yeah, so that's just a little fact about me. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning more about how naval combat is handled. And I think I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for like soldiers who fight on land plenty, but I think I have more for sailors and people who fought in the ocean, because I think, like I said, I would have zero confidence to do this, to be out in the sea. Okay, so that's my long intro. We should just get into it. Let's watch Epic History's Nelson battles in 3D, Cape St. Vincent.
An Epic History Drakenfell collaboration. In 1792, the French Revolution sparked a European conflict that would last a generation. A struggle for mastery of Europe and the world. A contest fought on land and sea. In this war of shifting alliances, the most enduring rivalry was between France and Britain. Britain could not challenge France on land, but at sea, it was a different matter. Britain's Royal Navy was as dominant on the waves as Napoleon was to prove on land. And in an age when Britain had many skilled naval commanders, one stood out above the rest: Horatio Nelson. Bold, inspiring, and brilliant. For the British, he'd become a national hero. These are the stories of his greatest battles.
I cannot, if I am in the field of for glory, be kept out of sight.
1797. The Revolutionary War is in its 5th year, and the French Republic dominates on land. It has conquered the Low Countries and northern Italy, and now its armies advance on Austria. At sea, the British Navy rules supreme, having won a series of victories over the French. But a new alliance between France and Spain poses a major threat to British naval power. Ship for ship, the British Navy is superior to any enemy. Its crews are experienced and well led, while the French have lost many naval officers during the Revolution, and the Spanish lack money and training. Britain also has the most ships, around 144 ships of the line, the largest vessels of the age, and the only ones that take part in major fleet actions. France has just 69. But the new alliance with Spain adds 84 Spanish ships to that number. If these allies can join forces at sea, they will outnumber the British and could force a naval victory that will change the course of the war.
It's interesting, wait. Okay, so we're still technically in the War of the First Coalition. I needed to check the date really quick. This is like around the final year of the War of the First Coalition. Dang, it's so weird to see Spain was tied with France, basically from like around the First Coalition all the way through like the first 4 coalitions. like I said, I was always like kind of surprised at Spain's chillness with France, and like especially Napoleon. So, you know, yeah, like they were basically working together for a really long time. Like Spain was like the only European nation that was pretty chill for the majority of the Napoleonic era. And it's cool to see a different front of the Napoleonic era. Obviously, the main action is with Napoleon himself, you know, his exploits, his greatness on the battlefield, but it's nice to see the focus on something else, you know? And Yeah, so he's mentioning that if they get together, they will have a numerically superior force. Um, so obviously, the strategy is divide and conquer. Make sure your enemy. I'm assuming that the British are going to interrupt this the combining of these forces so the enemy doesn't link up their strength and basically divide and conquer. Basically what Napoleon does best, not letting the coalitions form together, separating them, taking them off one by one. I'm assuming that's what the British are going to do now. I mean, it would make sense. I feel like that would be the logical course of action, though. We'll see if they can do that, and yeah, if they do that.
Britain's largest naval force is the Channel Fleet, 16 ships of the line guarding the homeland. Detachments watch France's Atlantic ports, where the French have several powerful squadrons, with the largest at Brest. Britain's Mediterranean fleet, 10 ships of the line, had been operating from bases in Corsica, Elba and Naples. But now Spain's joined the war, the British are heavily outnumbered in the Med and decide to make a strategic withdrawal to Portugal. Here, the fleet is reinforced to 15 ships of the line, and its commander, Admiral Sir John Jarvis, is ordered to keep close watch on the Spanish. In February 1797, 5 Spanish merchant ships sail from Malaga on Spain's south coast, bound for Cadiz. They carry a cargo of mercury, vital for refining the silver and gold which arrives in Cadiz from Spain's New World Empire. The convoy is considered so important that it receives a powerful escort. The entire Spanish battle fleet, 27 ships of the line, and several frigates. After escorting the merchant ships to Cadiz, the Spanish commander, Admiral Cordova, will continue to Brest to join forces with the French. If he is successful, the British will face a giant combined fleet, their greatest strategic fear. With the help...
Yeah, so essentially, like I said, you have to stop the enemy from linking up, divide and conquer.
Of a strong Levanter wind, the Spanish pass swiftly through the Straits of Gibraltar. But the wind blows them too far out into the Atlantic. As they struggle back towards Cadiz, a thick fog descends on the sea. Meanwhile, British frigate HMS Minerva is returning from a diplomatic mission to Italy. Aboard, an emerging star of the Royal Navy, Commodore Horatio Nelson. He plans to rejoin Admiral Jarvis's fleet off Cape St. Vincent. HMS Minerva first survives a dramatic chase off Gibraltar. Then, on the dark, foggy night of the 11th of February, she suddenly finds herself in the midst of the main Spanish fleet. The British are so close, they can hear Spanish voices in the fog. Minerve remains undetected and is able to slip away. 2 days later, Nelson reaches the British fleet. His report confirms others that Jarvis has received, that the enemy are near, though he still does not know their strength. Jarvis orders his fleet to prepare for battle and set sail to intercept.
Hey everyone, big heads up, Paleo Valley's running a sale on all their meat sticks right now. You can get 30 sticks for $36.
A victory to England is very essential at this moment, and yeah, that was a close one. I thought he was about to fight them. I was being like, is he about to like solo? Sorry, I was watching Admiral Yi's videos by Extra History, and that dude like would solo entire Japanese like navies. So I was like, dude, is like Horatio Nelson about to solo the entire Spanish fleet? But that's not what happened. Still, thank goodness for fog.
Admiral Sir John Jarvis, commander of the Mediterranean Fleet, was from a prosperous middle-class background, but ran away to join the Navy aged 13. Now aged 62, he has 40 years' experience at sea, much of it fighting the French and Spanish. He's faced battle many times, but this will be the first time he's led a major fleet into action. He's fortunate to have several outstanding captains under him, including Collingwood, Troubridge, Saumarez, and Nelson, all of whom will have their own illustrious careers. Jarvis's flagship is HMS Victory, an aging but powerful 100 guns.
So yes, we covered Epic History's coverage, the two-parter on HMS Victory, so I'm grateful that I watched that, so before I watched this. So, you know, he really broke down how the ships were run, the crews, the flag signals and meanings, so I'm really happy that we covered that, because that's a lot to take into account, just how different things were on sea than land, you know?
Ship of the line. The commander of the Spanish fleet is Admiral José de Córdoba y Ramos, a Spanish aristocrat, 65 years old. He'd also gone to sea at 13, and also has a record of long service, including several scientific voyages to the New World. He's only just been appointed commander of the Spanish fleet on the basis of seniority rather than merit, and has no fewer than 6 other admirals serving under him. Cordova's flagship is the mighty Santissima Trinidad. Carrying 130 guns, she's the most heavily armed warship in the world. Santissima Trinidad leads a powerful fleet of 27 Spanish ships of the line, although 3 of these will miss the battle. 7 are classed as first-rate ships of the line, meaning they carry 100 guns or more. Jarvis has just 15 ships of the line, and only 2 of them are first-rates. On paper, the Spanish advantage in firepower is massive, but the number of guns isn't everything. The speed and efficiency with which they're handled can be decisive. Moreover,
yeah, the British Navy is obviously peak. You know, the saying that Britannia rules the waves. And, you know, from watching the HMS Victory series, we see just how well-oiled of a machine that the British Navy was. And it had to be. Like, the biggest advantage that Britain has is that it's not a part of mainland Europe. And basically, conquering it all depends on getting rid of their fleet, right? Like, if an enemy like Napoleon could land on British shore, not to say it would be a complete stomp, because, you know, it's not like the British land army was like pushovers or anything, but like obviously they would be in big trouble. And you know, it's really just avoiding that, right? Having the ultimate defense, basically almost having the best superior navy to keep your island safe, essentially, right? They kind of really had to, I think more than any other like nation, have to have a great navy. And like I said, like they are a well-oiled machine at this point. Like I said, like when compared to Napoleon, the you know, the French army was like peak. I've said probably the best land army in the entire world, especially like, you know, from like the Third Coalition and like Fourth Coalition, just like a well-oiled machine, just impeccable. And I feel like you could say the same about the British Navy, at least on the sea, right? Like, yeah, you just see why it would be paramount for the British to get rid of any threat, because once, you know, they get through the Navy, then it becomes more difficult for them, right? So, yeah.
Cordova's crews are not at full strength, and many of his sailors are inexperienced. Both fleets are accompanied by several frigates and other small ships, which did not usually fight in fleet actions, but were used for scouting and messages.
Capacitor course check is okay.
At dawn, the British are sailing south in 2 columns. They hear Spanish signal guns in the fog and know the enemy is close. But while the British fleet sails with purpose, expecting to engage the enemy, the Spanish have become dispersed in their efforts to reach Cadiz. They are now in 2 groups. A smaller group of 5 ships to the east, led by Admiral Moreno, and the main group to the west, commanded by Admiral Cordova, both heading east-southeast. On their current courses, the British ships are set to pass between them. As the fog lifts, the Spanish fleet comes into view, and Jarvis learns for the first time that he is massively outnumbered. Lookouts at the mast tops pass a steady stream of updates down to the deck. 8 Spanish ships sighted. 20 ships sighted. 27 ships sighted. Finally, Jarvis snaps. "Enough, sir. The die is cast, and if there are 50 sail, I will go through them." The Spanish have also...
Dang, that's insane. I like the 3D effects. It's very submersive. Like that POV shot was actually incredible. It actually kind of gives you the impression like, oh my goodness, like, you know. But then again, I just feel like even numbers aren't everything in war. We've said this and covered this many times. Really, I think the British just have quality on their side. They may not have quantity, but they have the quality, you know? So I could just... yeah, I could see them just winning, you know? Though how easily that victory will come has yet to be determined. We'll see, you know? Because, once again, I don't know anything about this fight, so, or this battle in history, so, yeah.
Spotted the British. The larger formation turns north, looking to pass the British going in the opposite direction. The smaller Spanish force turns northwest, attempting to close up with the rest of the fleet. The British may be outnumbered, but if Jarvis can get between the 2 Spanish groups and fight half the enemy at a time, his odds will significantly improve.
Divide and conquer, you know, and yeah, now it's just a race, huh? Who can get there better? But it seems like the British are moving much quicker than the Spanish, so it seems like speed just might be on their side, but we have yet to see, right? Form the line of battle as most convenient.
As the range closes, Jarvis orders his ships to form a single line of battle to cut between the two Spanish formations. The maneuver is carried out rapidly and efficiently, with HMS Culloden taking the lead. Admiral Cordova, however, is struggling to form his ships into a line of battle following their turn. They continue to sail in a ragged group, with ships blocking each other's line of fire. The battle is joined at 11:30 AM as the British vanguard opens fire. At 12:08, Jarvis orders his ships to turn 180 degrees in succession to maintain contact with the main enemy force. But now, the smaller Spanish force is coming up, threatening to break the British line near the point of its turn. If they can pull off this maneuver, they'll split the British fleet, making it vulnerable. Experienced British captains keep in tight formation, denying the Spanish any gap to exploit. But it is a determined attack. HMS Colossus takes heavy sail damage and veers out of control. Her neighbours, Orion and Irresistible, provide covering fire. The Spanish finally receive such a terrible series of broadsides that they abandon their attempt to get through the British line and turn away. For the British, every moment now counts. Admiral Cordova's force is getting away. He plans to slip around the British and rejoin with the rest of his fleet. If the British are to prevent him, someone will have to do something drastic.
The Spanish admiral's plan was frustrated by the timely opposition of Commodore Nelson. So yeah, this is where Nelson's gonna like really make his mark, right? Like, I can't wait to see what he does.
Commodore Nelson commands HMS Captain, a 74-gun ship, towards the rear of the British line. In this age, it was considered crucial to maintain the line of battle for the safe and effective manoeuvring of the fleet. But Nelson sees that in their current formation, the Spanish will soon slip out of reach. Just after 1 PM, he decides he must do something about it. On his own initiative, disregarding Admiral Jarvis's clear instructions, Nelson gives the order to wear ship and heads, alone, straight towards the main Spanish formation. HMS Captain is about to take on half a dozen Spanish ships single-handed, including Cordova's gigantic flagship, Santísima Trinidad. In these winds, it will take Nelson 45 minutes to close with the enemy. All the while, his ship is under heavy fire from the Spanish.
What an absolute mad lad. The dude really went in for just a frickin' charge. Basically solo. He's like, let me go in. Like, against the orders, but it's showing that he's taking the initiative and he's just going in for it. Like, absolute mad lad material, you know?
It's neither fast nor accurate, but steadily, much of her rigging and yards are shot away. It looks like Nelson's gambit might fail, but help is on the way. When Jarvis, aboard Victory, sees Nelson break formation, he signals to other ships to turn in support. HMS Excellent, commanded by Captain Collingwood, is quickest to respond. HMS Culloden is also now close enough to engage the rear Spanish ships. Several of these have now suffered heavy damage. Salvador del Mundo is effectively disabled. San Isidro has been battered. As HMS Excellent moves up the line to support Nelson, she fires broadsides into them at close range. Both Spanish ships haul down their colours, the signal of surrender. HMS Excellent's bold advance causes San Nicolas to take evasive action, and she collides with San Jose. Nelson spots his chance. His own ship is crippled, but has just enough way on her to ram San Nicolas and attempt to take her by boarding. Nelson leads the boarding party himself.
Holy crap, that's cool. I really like that. Awesome. So going by the boarding, like I'm saying, that was beyond dangerous, but it's a gambit, a risk that seems to be working out. And yeah, that's just really impressive. Like, it kind of goes to show you sometimes the importance of what taking initiative, like, essentially turned everything, right? On its head, what the Spanish were trying to do, which was link up with the rest of their ships. So yeah, overall, and the dude just leading the charge. So obviously we love a leader who's not afraid to get his hands dirty, you know?
Climbing aboard San Nicolas through a smashed window in the captain's cabin. After a short, sharp fight and close-range discharge of pistols, the crew of San Nicolas surrender. They've suffered more than 200 casualties, about a third of their strength. Nelson's not finished. His men come under musket fire from San Jose, which is alongside San Nicolas. Gathering more men, Nelson launches a second boarding action. From the deck of San Nicolas onto the San Jose.
Okay, that's cool. The dude's like basically ship hopping. He's like, we jump onto one, and now he's just gonna board another. Dang, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's... Man, I think I just really like the fact that, yeah, he's bold, really ballsy, if, to put it. And yeah, I just love that he's just going for it. Man, that's awesome.
This Spanish crew, bewildered by the sudden onslaught, also surrender. This extraordinary feat of using one captured ship as a springboard to take another is soon dubbed Nelson's patent bridge for boarding first rates. He is presented with so many swords by surrendering Spanish officers that he has to pass them to his coxswain to hold. Cordova's flagship, the giant Santissima Trinidad, is now being hammered by 3 British ships. Her crew has suffered more than 300 casualties. Around 4 p.m, there are rumours she struck her colours, but it's difficult to tell amid the smoke, din and confusion. Before she can be secured, 2 undamaged Spanish ships arrive and help tow her to safety. The British ships are too battered to pursue the enemy, who have begun to regroup and may yet pose a threat. Jarvis signals to his fleet to form up and secure the 4 Spanish ships they've already captured. As Cordova and his remaining fleet sail for Cadiz, the British begin to cheer, a remarkable victory.
As she passed, HMS Victory saluted us with 3 cheers, as did every ship in the fleet.
Against the odds, the Battle of Cape St. Vincent ended in a significant British victory. 4 Spanish ships of the line were captured, including 2 first-rates. Around 800 Spanish sailors were killed or wounded, and 3,000 taken prisoner. British losses were just 73 dead and 227 wounded.
Holy crap. Oh man, those numbers though. Dang. Dude, the Spanish got like wrecked that battle. You know?
Nelson's brilliant success meant his disregard for orders was overlooked. Instead, he was knighted, becoming a Knight Companion of the Order of the Bath. Admiral Sir John Jarvis was made the Earl of St. Vincent and received a generous pension and other honours. In 1801, he was appointed First Lord of the Admiralty, the political head of the Royal Navy. He lived to the age of 88 and is remembered as one of Britain's greatest admirals. Admiral Cordova, in contrast, was disgraced. Historians and his officers agree that he behaved with courage during the battle, but his ineffective manoeuvres were blamed for defeat. He was dismissed from the Navy and forbidden to appear at the Spanish court. He died in 1815. The Battle of Cape St. Vincent was no battle of annihilation, but it had major strategic consequences. After their defeat, the demoralized Spanish fleet returned to Cadiz, where it was blockaded by the British, meaning the threat of the Spanish and French navies joining forces had been neutralized. And so the next year, 1798, a British squadron commanded by Rear Admiral Nelson returned to the Mediterranean. He was soon in pursuit of a French fleet, carrying General Bonaparte's army to Egypt. In the age of Nelson, a young
Dude, Nelson's always saving. Like, we know about, like, Napoleon's ambitions from the Third Coalition of wanting to invade Britain, and often Nelson is described as the dude who helped secure British naval dominance, you know, through the Battle of Trafalgar, and he's done it again, you know, through this battle, essentially stopping a combined French and Spanish fleet. So yeah, the dude's just like carrying right now, and that was really cool. You know, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't a complete annihilation of the Spanish fleet, but it was important and obviously prevented the enemy from linking up and becoming too numerically overwhelming. So again, just a great feat there, and Admiral Nelson really took the initiative, you know, which shows you, like, yeah, why he's to be feared, you know.
Englishman wondering how to make a positive difference in the world had an easy answer. Join the Royal Navy, smash the French. But those were simpler times. Today...
Alright, so the last 2 minutes of this video were just, you know, an ad. So yeah, I really enjoyed this video. It's always cool and interesting to learn about, you know, naval warfare. And yeah, you can see why a lot of things worked for the British this time. Despite being caught off guard at the number of the Spanish that they were charging into, at the end, it was fortunate for them because the Spanish were dispersed. They didn't have the organization nor the purpose that the British had, which was the British were looking for a fight. They came in between the, you know, unorganized Spanish, struck, and even then, like, it seemed like there were chances, because the Spanish strategy, I guess, for this entire battle was link up and get all the ships together. But thanks to Nelson's maneuvering here, I just really like. Essentially just threw that plan down and yeah, kept the enemy divided. And like I said, like it's really, we always bring up divide and conquer because it is a good thing. You don't want your enemies to link up. You don't want the full strength of the enemy, like taking them on separately and moving on to the next. Is why Napoleon, for instance, was so great at war. And you see it here, like, yeah, overall just a great move. And you can see why the British just came out on top. Superior captains, and I think what I really loved the most was just the boarding event, like boarding one ship and then leaping onto the next one immediately after is just so cool to me. Like, that's a scene in a movie, like boink boink. That's like a move that could be just a movie scene. I could just envision it now, and yeah, that's just like so awesome. And overall, that was just a really wonderful video. I loved the presentation of it. I loved the visual component of it. Like, this is just so immersive, I think, and it's just so beautifully done. The animation, the narration, of course, as always, and just, it really does suck you into envisioning just how something like this would look. So overall, yeah, that was just very great. I really loved this, and I really love Epic History. He always delivers the most quality of history content. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the next one. In fact, I just might do it right now. So I will see you guys tomorrow in the next of Nelson's battles. Bye, everyone.